Hi, I'm Michael Charles here to say a few words about my father, Ray Charles, or as he would jokingly refer to himself, the other Ray Charles. He was the Ray Charles of the Ray Charles Singers, which is a familiar name to those of you who lived through the 1950s and 60s. Think of Perry Como and the Ray Charles Singers. The Ray Charles Singers recorded 30 record albums and even had a hit single in Love Me With All Your Heart. Now, Ray passed away in 2015 at the age of 96. But up till that time, he was working as a musical consultant to the Kennedy Center Honors. He had started as a professional musician at the age of 16, singing on the radio in 1934 while he was still a student at Hyde Park High in Chicago. 80 years later, he was still going strong. That's a lot of show business as a singer, arranger, conductor, writer of special material, 2 Emmys, and master of the musical medley. He had an encyclopedic first-hand knowledge of the Great American Songbook, and he donated his papers, arrangements, and over 15,000 pieces of sheet music to the Songbook Foundation because of his love of music and his desire to keep that flame burning. When Ray started singing, there was no television, no multi-track recording, no recording tape, no long-playing records. Forget about digital anything, or any resources like Google or Spotify. When he did a radio show in 1946 in New York, if they wanted to air it in California, they would wait 3 hours and redo the show and then send it to California. He started as a singer, and he also sang in groups, and then someone asked him to put a group together. Now, in 1942, there was a musician strike that lasted a year and a half, and no union musician could make a commercial recording for a commercial record company. Well, suddenly, there's this great need for a cappella singing on recordings, and Ray started doing more arranging, putting groups together and directing them. By the time television became popular in the early 1950s, he was established as a choral director and worked on the early popular musical shows like Your Hit Parade and The Perry Como Show. There was a lot of music in New York City in the 1950s. It seemed every featured singer had a choral background. I looked at a calendar date book of my father's for the month of January 1954. He had 39 record dates that month with various artists as a singer and or choral director. And that didn't include working on jingles, radio shows, and TV shows. He told me a funny story once about working with singers in the music business back in the day. He got a call once to bring a group of singers to Decca, a record label, for a 2 o'clock recording, and then a call to go to RCA, another label, for a 7 p.m. session. At Decca, the singer they're backing up was Don Cherry. Google him. There were 5 singers in Ray's group for the session, and the first song was Thinking of You. Why do I spend the day, wake up and end the day, thinking of you? They did that in 3 more sides. It's now 5:30. Go get a bite to eat and go over to RCA for the next session. Now at RCA, there are 8 singers in the choir, and the vocalist is another new singer, Eddie Fisher. Google him. He would become a big star, sell millions of records, and have tabloid marriages to Debbie Reynolds and Elizabeth Taylor. But that was all in the future. This was 1950, and it was only Eddie's second record date. Well, the first song to be recorded was, wait for it, Thinking of You, the song they had just recorded with Don Cherry that afternoon. Well, so they run through the song, and Eddie gets lost. It seems Eddie has a great voice, but Eddie cannot keep time. So the conductor comes over to Ray and says, Ray, can you stand next to him and please cue him? So Ray goes over and stands next to Eddie. Then my father would show me how he would sing silently and gesture, why do I spend the day, wake up and end the day, thinking of you, stop. And for the next 10 or 12 records Eddie Fisher sang, there was Ray Charles standing next to him and pointing. Someone's painting the leaves all wrong this year. Wish you were here. Lady of Spain, I adore you. Stop. Oh, my papa, to me he was so wonderful. Stop. In his first 5 years recording, Eddie Fisher sold over 10 million records, with Ray Charles telling him when to start and stop. That's crazy. For the next 60 years, Ray did music for television shows and got to work with some of the composers of the great American Songbook: Harold Arlen, Johnny Mercer, Richard Rodgers, Arthur Schwartz, Harry Warren, and a lot of others. He loved the music of the Songbook, and many of his arrangements for soloists and singers are in the Songbook archives. He did a great Avalon arrangement for Caterina Valenti and Ella Fitzgerald. Also some songs he wrote for The Muppet Show. They're all in the Foundation archives. Visit them. Thanks.